Hi everyone, Dr. Justin Golston here. And in this video, we're going to begin with the processes to prepare a training program. So we went through, the inputs to a training program, but we're going to spend a few moments to discuss the logistical aspects of preparing a training program. So some of the questions that you have to ask yourself is, who is being trained. So going back to the previous video, going back to our acronym of mirrors, are we training a large group of individuals? Are we training a focus group of individuals? Are we training executives? Or are we training, warehouse workers or programmers? Based on the audience, the delivery, the location may be different. Next, we want to assess who needs to be identified and how will they be identified of the training session. Are we going to be performing this training on site? Are we going to be performing this training off site? Now, that seems like it may not be important, but just from my experience, if I am training executives, I'm training off site. And that's from actual experience in that if you have executives within an organization like a small and medium type organization, even if you're in a conference room in a training session, in a conference room, in a war room, you're going to have people coming into that session and interrupting your meeting to have that executive to sign off on documents, to approve invoices, to address a concern for the organization. If that training is off-site, that executive is focused on that training session. So that's another thing that's very important. That comes from my experience as a management consultant. So you also have to ask yourself who will do the training. So are you going to have instructor led training? Are you going to have a consultant come in and train the employees? Are you going to have a consultant come in to train the executives of an organization? It's also important to say, are we going to do what we refer to as a train the trainer session? So in trainer sessions, it would be people like me as a consultant that would come in and train an employee of the organization, and then that employee would actually train their peers. And I found success in that because going back to the very first video in this module, employees of an organization will listen to their peers more than they would listen to a stranger that may be viewed as a threat to their job. So what I mean by that is anyone that comes out external to your organization, to an organization, psychologically employees feel, oh, is this person coming to replace my job with automation? Is this person coming to eliminate my job from the organization? So a trainer approach is one approach that I found great success in. Also, as we said before, you need to assess whether or not it's going to be on site or off site. If you have executives that are very busy, if you have individuals that are in high demand, I would highly recommend that you would conduct that training session off site. That way, your training sessions aren't going to be interrupted, and those trainees will be focused in those sessions. Okay. Um, you also have to assess how long those training sessions will be conducted. Once again, if you have a full day session, I think you're going to get to a point where you're going to lose the focus of the individuals. Also, you need to break up those sessions so that content is digestible to the attendees. Okay. And then also what materials are needed. Whether it are all the employees going to have laptops or all of the employees going to be reviewing a presentation of the trainer. Okay. Also, are we going to have handouts? Are we going to have, notebooks that the or binders that the trainees are going to have to fill out, to answer questions, to track assessments and things like that. And then also, most importantly, you have to figure out the logistics for lunches and breaks and refreshments. So those are some of the considerations that you have to think of whenever you're performing a training session, the logistical aspects whenever you're performing a training session. But moving past that, we need to talk about the training model of so we have a number of methodologies, we have a number of models, but I would say at a high level, we could first focus on this 4-step training model. And once the planning has been completed, this 4-step model is going to be very important in beginning with preparation. So going back to our previous slide, to once we have identified the audience, once we have identified the location, once we have identified the time and the how long that training session is going to be, then we have to assess what the agenda is going to look like. What content are we going to deliver, right? What are we going to demonstrate in this training session, right? Once we've identified what we're going to demonstrate, what we're going to deliver in this training session, we want to provide some application. And what we mean by application is we want to have some type of hands-on exercises so that those attendees are able to apply or demonstrate what they have learned within the presentation, within that training session. So the application is going to be very important, whether it's hands-on on doing an exercise on a computer, whether it is a brainstorming session among their peers, whether it is a question and answer, right? Based on what they learned. So for example, we trained for 40 minutes. Now let's take a break. Someone tell me what they got out of that discussion, right? Now that can be viewed as application because you're going to have interaction with your audience. And once again, you have to break it up in bite-sized pieces. Now, once we have done that, the final thing is the evaluation. So at the end of that training session, we want to perform what we refer to as a retrospective. We want to perform a lessons learned assessment to see what went well in that training session and areas that can be improved for future training sessions. So again, going back to a previous video, where we want to receive those continuous feedback loops so that we can continue to improve on our delivery of the training, of the content, of the information within the organization. That's all we're going to cover in this video. Until next time.